Hey y'all, welcome back to Who's Behind the Headline. I'm Leila Mitchell. Thank you so much for watching. And before we get started, please be sure to like and subscribe. Today's story is one that takes us into the quiet hours of a Kentucky morning, into a home where 4 children were sound asleep, and into a justice system so tangled in technicalities that it allowed the killer of a 6-year-old boy to walk free years before his sentence was supposed to end. This is the story of Logan Tipton and the man who took his life. A story of trauma that never left the walls of one family's home, and the story of a legal structure that for many feels like it failed at every turn. Take a breath, because this one is heavy. It was just after 4 a.m. on December 7th, 2015 in Versailles, Kentucky. A small, peaceful town, the kind of place where people know their neighbors, where kids ride bikes in cul-de-sacs, and where families don't think twice about feeling safe inside their home. And that night, inside the Tipton's family 2-story house, the world was still. 4 children were asleep in their rooms. Down their parents, Heather and Dean, were resting after another long day of parenting. But only 1 mile away, a stranger was already on the move. His name is Ronald Exantis, a man from Indianapolis, hours from home, driving through Kentucky on an aimless, erratic journey that investigators later said didn't appear planned, but didn't look accidental either. Now, sometime during the early morning hours, while the Tiptons slept, Exantis pulled up to their home, got out of his car, and walked straight toward the front door. It was unlocked, and the moment it opened, the entire course of this family's life shifted. Investigators say Exantis walked quietly into the Tipton home, no forced entry, no loud noise, just a stranger stepping into a dark house, moving room to room with a chilling calm. He wandered into the kitchen first. The kitchen, the heart of any home. The place where families gather, where the Tiptons gathered many times. Where homework gets done, where dinners are made. And there he opened a drawer, and he picked up a kitchen knife. And then he walked upstairs, passing the photos on the wall, the birthday pictures, the kids' artwork, the signs of a family full of life and love. He entered the bedroom of 6-year-old Logan Tipton. Logan was asleep, small, peaceful, wrapped in his blankets, the kind of sleep only children seem to manage. Logan didn't wake up as Exantis approached his bed. Exantis stabbed Logan. It was fast, unprovoked, and in only seconds, Logan's life was gone. Down the hall, Logan's siblings, young girls, woke up to the sounds of movements. One of them was also stabbed by Exantis. One of them walked into the hallway and froze. She later testified in court, quote, "He did it in front of me, in front of my siblings." When Logan's father, Dean, ran upstairs after hearing screams, he found the intruder standing over his son's bed, a father's worst nightmare. Exantis then turned on him, stabbing him in the back. Dean fought back. He was injured, terrified, but driven by something stronger than fear, a father's instinct to protect. He was stabbed again, and Exantis stomped on his head. The scene could only be described as horror.
It was a freak incident, one that changed the Tipton family forever.
I woke up and I heard Logan screaming, and all I could see was a man, a big man, over top of him, stabbing him.
Logan was just 6 years old, a boy who loved football and his family. And on the night of December 7th, 2015, his life was taken after being stabbed to death.
He was gasping for air. And I held him tore deep in my heart. And finally, they took his last breath, looked at me, and closed his eyes, and he was gone.
Somehow, through shock and fear and sheer will, Dean fought hard enough to force the intruder out of the room, and that's when Xantus fled the house. Logan had been stabbed multiple times, and there was nothing anyone could do. As the investigation continued, police quickly found Ronald Xantus walking nearby, and he surrendered without a fight. Investigators spent months trying to understand why he chose this house, why this family, why this child. There was no connection, no motive, no connection to the Tiptons whatsoever, no connection to Logan. At trial, Xantus's lawyers argued he had schizophrenia. They said he believed the government was controlling his mind. They said he believed he was inside a virtual reality and thought he wasn't harming anyone. A jury ended up delivering a split verdict, not guilty by reason of insanity for the murder of Logan, guilty but mentally ill for stabbing Dean and assaulting the children. The insanity verdict on the murder of Xantus wasn't held fully criminally responsible for taking Logan's life, despite entering the home, choosing a knife, going upstairs, and stabbing a sleeping child. But the assault convictions did carry consequences. He received 2 consecutive 10-year sentences, 20 years total. In court, Logan's mother, Heather Tipton, said, quote, "You killed every member of my family. Every single one of us is a different person now than we were when we were in bed that night." Dean added, quote, "Your life should be in prison. A 6-year-old's life is worth more than 10 years. The family thought Xantus should be in prison at least until the 2030s, but they were wrong. 7 years into his 20-year sentence, Ronald Xantus walked out of prison. Not because a judge reduced his sentence, not because of some grand appeal, not because he was proven innocent, but because of a combination of Kentucky laws that, when stacked together, reduced even violent offenders' sentences dramatically. Good time eligibility, education credits, mandatory reentry supervision rules. These laws are often used for nonviolent offenders to reduce overcrowding. But in Kentucky, violent offenders can qualify too. So Xantus, the man who entered a home and killed a sleeping 6-year-old, was released 13 years early. And the Tipton family didn't find out until they got a phone call. No warning, no preparation. He was just out. Months after his release, police in Marion County, Florida, made a shocking discovery. Xantus was living in a neighborhood less than 40 yards from an elementary school. And as a violent felony offender, he was required to register his address. He didn't, and deputies arrested him. So after all the trauma, after the early release controversy, after a little boy's murder, Xantus still violated the law again. This is where the question becomes bigger than just one case. It turns into a conversation about public safety, early release fairness, mental illness and accountability, and how the system decides which victims deserve justice. Because if a man who stabbed a 6-year-old in his sleep walks free in 7 years, what does that say about the value placed on Logan's life? We've talked a lot about the crime, but now let's talk about the little boy who should still be here. Logan Tipton was full of energy. He was funny, sweet. He was the kind of kid who left fingerprints on windows and dirt on his shoes because he was always outside exploring. He was a big brother, a son, a 6-year-old with his whole future still untouched. Logan never got that future. His family still keeps his pictures up around their home. His sisters, now older, still talk about him. They remember his laugh, his messy hair, the way he hugged people too tight. These cases, they force us to ask uncomfortable questions. How do laws meant for rehabilitation get applied to someone who committed one of the most brutal crimes imaginable? Where is the line between mental illness and accountability when innocent children can pay the price? Because justice isn't just about courts, lawyers, and a verdict. It's about a message that a sentence sends to families, to victims, to communities watching from their living rooms, wondering if the system protects them too. In the Tipton case, the message was painful, that sometimes the law is written in a way that forgets the smallest victims first. I want to thank you for listening to this true crime deep dive on my podcast, Who's Behind the Headline. And if you want to support Logan's family, share their story, and help keep his memory alive, you'll find links in the description below. Stay safe, take care of each other, and always remember, behind every headline is a real person and a story that deserves to be heard. I'm Leila Mitchell, and I'll see y'all next time.